Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose, and we talk to a lot of people in the school system and city government to help inform our residents here. If you did miss a previous show, I did one with Robert Patrick, and he is a service director of the City of Wadsworth, and we were at the solar fields out on Rittman Road. And Drew Bixler was our videographer that day, and we did even a shot with a drone going over, and he plugged that in as well as some other statistics that Robert provided. And that's a real interesting show, and I learned a great deal, and maybe you could too. Laura Maslyk is with us today, and she is the new principal of Lincoln Elementary, and congratulations for your assignment. I'm sure you can't wait to get in your starting blocks and get going.
I am very excited. Thank you for having me here today, Bruce. It's such a pleasure, and I am really looking forward to working with Lincoln families and staying here in Wadsworth.
What about your educational background? Could we begin with that?
Sure. I am a lifelong resident of Ohio. I grew up going to school in Medina County, so I knew it's a place I wanted to start a family. I graduated in 1998 from Ohio University with my bachelor's in education, began teaching right away in Medina City Schools, a little bit of time in Cloverleaf, and then went on to get my master's at Akron. And then in 2013-14, which would be 8 school years ago, I applied for the administrative position as assistant principal at Central Intermediate School. Took that job, loved every moment of it, and this position opened up, and I have been in Wadsworth since that first year in 2013, and we call it home.
So I would imagine some of those positions really have built a good foundation for you to move up to the principalship.
Absolutely. They all have played a critical role. You know, being a teacher of multiple grades, I've taught 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th. They have really set the stage for great educational experience. And then after that time, moving into the assistant principal role, that was probably the most significant experience that helped prepare me for this new role as principal at Lincoln Elementary.
I would imagine the same would hold true of teachers and administrators, to having a mentor, someone that's maybe been down the road before. That's helpful, isn't it?
Extremely, and I can think of 2 mentors off the top of my head right now. There's so many in my career of 23 years in education, but just being here in Wadsworth, Joanne Gahan, she was the principal at Central Intermediate School for almost all of my years when I served as an assistant, and Roger Wright, when I came here, played a big part in helping me join the wellness committee, and then I took that over as part of our district initiative. So mentors play such a critical role, and I think they help build your character, they help build your confidence. Sometimes they see things in you that you don't even see in yourself, and that's really our job as leaders, is to cultivate and encourage and help grow people. So good experiences and much needed in education.
I would imagine in your leadership position you may talk to some veteran teachers to go ahead and take that role for new educators coming into the field.
Absolutely. You know, they have that experience, the depth of knowledge. They bring so much to the table, our veteran teachers do. They're just a wealth of information in dealing with kids, challenging situations over the year, connecting with parents. All of those pieces are so important when we talk about educating the whole child.
Being a principal, as I've had a little experience in that area, is very challenging. Why did you decide to throw your hat in the ring?
You know, this community is amazing. You won't find a place like Wadsworth really anywhere else. It's a special place, and it's because of our families, our grandparents. The people in this community make you want to not only be here, but work harder to serve and do better. And I think having the opportunity when it came up to be the principal of Lincoln just felt like a good fit, the right time. My heart is truly in elementary education. Most of my teaching years were in the K-4 building, so I loved every moment at the 5th, 6th building, but knew early on, after a few years there, that if something opened, I really wanted to get back to those younger learners in the K-4 world.
Well, Laura, I have to confess that since I knew you were going to be Lincoln principal, I had to, and I'm an Oasis tutor,
Yes.
Hopefully that program will continue, but I had to wear Winnie the Pooh, and I hope you appreciate that.
I do. It's perfect, Bruce. It's perfect.
Why, again, going back to the parents, our parents really seem to want students to be active. They want them to be involved in a lot of things, and it really is helpful when students are active and the teachers encourage them to do various things.
Absolutely. I think encouraging kids to be involved in a multitude of things and try different programs or initiatives or clubs, it helps students learn what they might like or be interested in or have a strength in. And I think parents want to see our students, again, talk about educating that whole child. That really does mean the whole child, including the arts, their interests outside of the academic walls of Lincoln Elementary or any school building. So those pieces are critical to develop our students and really help them find their passion and what they're good at and what they love.
How would you describe your leadership style? I know that people coming in a new position might take a wrecking ball and start from scratch. Some people might have the balcony approach, that they just kind of wait and kind of see what transpires, or some people kind of middle of the road, do a little bit of both. How do you see the new position at Lincoln and your approach?
By nature, I would say I'm a very collaborative person. So for me, it's all about building those relationships. That is the foundation of everything with your staff, your students, your parents. It is about getting to know those individuals in a way that's a more personal level. So early on, I've already been connecting with teachers, support staff, administration, of course, just wanting to see what is the need. And one of the first questions I had asked is, what makes Lincoln so special through the eyes of our staff? What is something they would not want to see change? I think taking the time to get to know people, get to know their heart and what makes that building special is the first step. Then coming in to be a learner, to listen, to learn, to lead, all of those pieces are critical. And I think when you make changes, they need to be not just for the fact of making a change, it's to improve upon what's already great, or work on the things collaboratively together with your staff that need some attention.
When teachers have ownership in a policy change or just tweaking something to a small degree, then they really have the heart into it and it gets done, doesn't it?
It really does. That makes all the difference. And again, how can you expect them to own something or put their heart into it when we're not even listening and giving them the attention to say, here's what I think, here's what I feel, to really make their voices heard and then use that information, not just collect it, but to say, okay, where do we go from here as a team? So again, collaboration, and you're right, ownership of the people who are part of that building or that process or initiative.
If something else down the road they feel needs your attention, then again, if you allow them, you listen to them, they'll come forward and say, hey, maybe we could do it this way a little bit with something in the cafeteria or the transportation or something that really would improve the building. That's positive.
Absolutely. And you know what? Together we're better. No one person has all the right answers or the best ideas. It takes all of us sharing and thinking through and being reflective on what the possibilities could be. So that just makes us better together. It makes Lincoln a better place when we all contribute.
Speaking a little bit more about Wadsworth, very unique. Some rural districts have K through 12 buildings. Some have K through 6 or K through 8 to cut costs. Wadsworth really has traditionally loved the small community schools. Why do you think that is, and does that work for us?
I think it does. I think our administrators, again, have listened to this community and know that the importance of neighborhood schools and being part of that smaller community in Wadsworth is so important to our families. And I believe there's great value and strength in that. We have a board of education and administration who works tirelessly to balance those numbers and to try to keep kids in their home school with that small feeling of a community. It's a very special thing when you have your neighborhood schools that have, yes, we're all Wadsworth collaboratively, but each of our elementaries has their own identity and their own stamp on their students. So it's a wonderful thing that not every community gets to experience.
The district tries to go ahead and have those students living near the district to go there, but we have expanded, and the building is certainly outside the city, the inner city limits. Does the district really still try to get those students close to the buildings to be assigned to, let's say, Franklin, Lincoln, or Valley View?
They really do. It's a lot of balancing. Dr. Hill works very, very hard to listen to requests, to make those decisions the best that they can be, not only for teachers but for families. So when a student may have to be placed in another building to balance those numbers, there's a period even after the school year starts where changes can be made to, again, accommodate those families that really have a desire to be back in their home school. I think our administration does a terrific job with that. It's a process, though. It really is.
Well, I know one state that could be doing a little better with vaccines. Ohio, unfortunately, saw the other day, has less than 50% of the people vaccinated, and certainly a trying year last year with education. Do you have some trepidation about COVID-19 and what approach you'll take with that at Lincoln?
Yeah, so I think really listening to the guidance, we respond in an appropriate way to keep our students and staff safe. Safety is a top priority. Again, our board and our administration has done a fabulous job following the guidelines given by the health department that we work with, by our governor of the state, and I believe that will continue. Dr. Hill is very transparent about those pieces, and we as principals work collaboratively throughout all the buildings to say, what is the need? Where are we at right now? We know as of today at 11:30 a.m., here's the protocol or the direction that we are given, which we're excited to hear in Dr. Hill's rollout plan that volunteers are allowed back in the building. Masks certainly as of today are going to be optional. They're not required, but students and staff may choose to wear them. So I think it's a little bit of wait and see as the rest of the summer unfolds, and I'm hopeful that we will return to some more sense of a normalcy. But again, it's really listening to that guidance and following what our board puts in front of us to implement.
And again, the administrators and teachers and support staff have to be very flexible because, as you said, things could change. As of a month ago, things were really looking good, and
yes.
The mask mandates were put on the back burner, but now suddenly it seems like the country's going in a different direction, and I'm concerned, and I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, I have every bit of confidence, especially in our staff, our teachers, our support staff, to be ready to roll. And you've got it. Flexibility is the key word of this time we're in. So, I saw it last year with the teachers in my own building up close. We worked on a plan, laid it out, but sometimes you have to roll with the plan B or make changes to what you think is going to be implemented. And our teachers, especially on the front lines in the classroom, did a phenomenal job, a beautiful job of continuing to educate our kids in person every day for families who felt comfortable sending their children. It'll continue to be a work in progress, but I'm very confident in our staff.
You segued into my next question beautifully. What about those students that are not comfortable? And could you tell me about Wadsworth Wired? And what does it look like possibly for this school year? How many students may opt to do that?
Yeah, so the Wadsworth Wired was terrific last year. It was a wonderful opportunity for our students in Wadsworth to continue to be educated by Wadsworth teachers in a safe way that met the needs of their family. That will continue to be an option, but will look a little bit different. They can continue to choose to be online, but it's going to be more of a collaborative effort with schools in our county. Dr. Hill, again, has worked hard in communicating with other superintendents in the area to offer something. I don't know about numbers at this point. It's definitely much lower than last year. I think more families are planning on returning, but again, giving families the option that they feel is best for their child.
Being an elementary principal, you know how important it is for the foundation for the future success of the students. And some studies have shown that some students have really regressed a little bit, and they haven't had the same opportunities they would have before. What measures can you help the teachers to take to go ahead and get maybe some students caught up or at grade level where they really need to be?
Sure. Well, Wadsworth, again, above and beyond this summer offered terrific for elementary kids, 5 weeks of a summer school program. And again, identifying those students maybe in the spring at the end of last year who could benefit from a little more during those summer months. We just wrapped that up yesterday, actually, at Lincoln Elementary, and we had the same programming offered for our middle school and high school kids who maybe needed a little more. That was one piece that we just completed that'll really give students hopefully a leg up to continue to grow. We talk about as a staff meeting students where they are. Our students are coming to us with all different challenges and experiences, and some that maybe have not attended school in person, only had part of their school year in person. So I think the feeling is we need to meet kids where they're at, and that means a lot of initial listening, maybe some assessments up front that we always do, and really dissecting that data that kids provide us with, and hearing families to say, here's where they're at, what is it they need, and how can we make that happen and implement that for our students to grow in all areas, academically certainly, but even in that social emotional piece.
I would think it would be really important for the teachers to communicate with the parents, as you say, to assess the students and say, they're really strong in a couple areas, but here's a subject that they really could help out. And parents can really do a lot at home, can't they?
They really can. They are partners. You are partners in our education families, whether it's our grandparents, our volunteers like our OASIS program, or parents and guardians themselves, even older siblings. When we work together as partners and offer suggestions and pieces and use that teacher's expertise to say, here are some parts and pieces you could implement at home that will just foster that growth and continue it. We rely on that, and our parents are wonderful about stepping up, and our support staff to say, let's see what we can do as a team to help move this child in the right direction.
You talked about the array of abilities that the teachers will be taking into account coming up the new school year. That leads me to this question in regards to individual instruction. The teachers know right away the rapid learners, the students that are very motivated, the parents are really behind them all the way, and they recognize sometimes the students that are going to have difficulties from prior years possibly. But sometimes the students in the middle, we have a difficult time to go ahead and give individual instruction. With the pandemic looming and so many challenges, how do the teachers try to approach that? To me, it would be very, very difficult.
I think that is a big challenge. It's always been a challenge you have such a continuum of learners in your class, but given the pieces of this pandemic that we have to follow to keep everyone safe, that's just added to a layer of challenge. So I believe that our teachers, again, last year spent countless hours getting creative about how do we serve small groups and individuals one-on-one who need some more support. It might look different than it has in past years, even with something as simple as distance. We have to keep this much space between our students, or we can only have this many kids sitting at a table doing small group instruction. They really got creative and used a wide variety, whether it was technology, finding creative spaces in other places besides the classroom where they could pull kids if it was in the hall, utilizing other staff members to just jump in and help support the needs of those students. So our staff gets very creative with, again, meeting the needs of those students, and I have no doubt, given this pandemic and the challenges we still may face, they will continue to rise to that and successfully meet the needs of our students.
One individual in each building is, to me, the kind of the unsung hero, and that's the guidance counselor. Sometimes at the elementaries, they maybe don't come every day, but just as a student, we can't have them get behind their academics. There are things happening at home, maybe illness with a grandfather or grandmother, maybe financial consideration, maybe they've moved to several districts from time to time. How significant is the counselor, and how will you interact with your counselor?
you know, they really are the heroes of our building, and we couldn't do this job without them. They are critical. They've always been critical, but even more over the last, 23 years I've been in the education world. I had to think for a minute. Our students are coming to us with more challenges, as you mentioned, whether it be home life, traumas they have experienced. And Wadsworth City Schools as a whole has done an amazing job of educating and putting a lot of time into trauma-informed care to our staff, to all of us. But our school counselors play that role. They directly serve students. They not only run small groups, do one-on-one individual counseling, but they are the link between providing sometimes outside services that are needed. They bond with those students. They connect with families. It's crucial for them to be involved in our buildings and directly with our students. So the time that they are there is precious. It's kid-centered. It is not bogging them down with paperwork. Every job has paperwork, but saying what can we take off their plate so they can directly be serving those students and families, as more and more of our children need that.
I always like when the counselors would take new students under their wing, and you would just hate to see a student sitting at lunch by themselves,
Yes.
no one coming, because they don't know other students, but the counselors really go out of their way to make school a good experience for new students and really kind of dovetail into success later.
Yes, they've just grown their programs. I mean, I could spend this whole segment talking about just school counselors and all the hats they wear, but you know, that is one piece that I've seen firsthand in our buildings where, just as you said, counselors step in, take those kids under their wing, and they help them build friendships with students. It's not just let me show you around the building, it's how can I get you plugged in? Let's build relationships where you feel you belong here. Because that's what it is, it's a sense of belonging. Kids need to walk through those doors every day in our schools and feel, I belong here. I'm happy, I want to be here, I belong.
Sometimes another group that I've always thought really enhanced the success of the building was the support staff. If the students had a herring drive or someone ran into them or they got in a ditch, sometimes that happens in the rural community a little more, then they're really not ready to learn. They're talking about what happened on their way to school. The secretary is the first one that gets a call from a parent with a question. Certainly the custodian's job has even been much more important, significant with cleanliness. The maintenance staff that come in occasionally to your building, they really keep things rolling and they keep the wheels greased and moving forward, don't they?
They sure do. All of those departments you mentioned have gone above and beyond in our district. They are, again, the unsung heroes behind the scenes sometimes that are, I don't want to say forgotten about, but aren't recognized as much as they should be. And again, seeing firsthand in the buildings I've been part of, the countless hours and thought that support staff puts into making that building an exceptional place to be. There's no job too big or too small for a custodian, for a support staff, an educational aide, an attendant, that cafeteria worker, the bus driver. We are all one team, and I think that is a message that has really come from our board and our administration to focus on, it doesn't matter what your role is in the district, it's an important role, and we are functioning as a team. You are a critical part of the success of this district. So support staff is critical and just has been fabulous.
Sometimes I've learned that we have real difficulty attracting like substitute bus drivers or cooks and sometimes custodians. We really need those people to fill in.
We do desperately, and those are hard jobs. You know, it's not a job anyone can step into. You have to have the right licensure, the right knowledge. It comes with a heavy understanding that you are serving others, and it's a big role to fill. So we definitely need the best of the best, and I feel in Wadsworth we have them here, but again, we always have positions that need filled. So if you know somebody looking, just send them our way.
What about the specials, physical education and art, music? Those, as you mentioned before, are well-rounded student. They need those subjects, don't they?
Absolutely. Again, I've used that term, the whole child, but this is an opportunity for our students who maybe don't have that same success level as their peers in mathematics or in reading to say, what is something I love that I feel good doing that I'm good at? It gives our students a chance to explore. You know, being at CIS the last 8 years, it was amazing to see our kids pick up for the first time when they would come to 5th grade an instrument, saying, I'm interested in trying to learn to play an instrument. The arts program, our fine arts, our athletics, music, art, PE, all of those play such an important role in the development of our kids to keep them whole, to keep them healthy. There's so much more to a child than just the letter grades on a report card in the core academics. Yes, that's important, but we really have to consider all pieces in exposing them, because the ultimate goal is that they grow up to be kind, good humanitarians and are productive citizens. And I don't know how you have that without giving them experiences in other realms.
Laura Maslyk, we had a very nice chat today. We got to know you quite a bit, and I'm sure the community has as well. And good luck this year at Lincoln. I'm sure it'll be a challenge, but I'm sure you're up for the task.
I definitely am. I thank you so much, and I am so looking forward to meeting the families I haven't met yet, the students I haven't gotten to interact with. It's going to be a terrific year, no matter what the challenges ahead are with the pandemic. Wadsworth will be ready, and there's no place I'd rather be.
And thank you for viewing Bruce on the Loose. Next week, Vincent Suber, the new high school principal, will be our guest. Thanks for viewing.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.